Hi there, welcome back to Move Mountains Pilates. My name is Jess, and today we're going to do a 10-minute stretch routine right here from my campground in Golden, BC. If you have yoga blocks, grab those. That's going to be really helpful to support you in your stretches today. Otherwise, no props needed. And we're going to go right ahead and start standing. All right, we're going to start standing with some spinal roll downs. Take a big inhale, spread the arms open, expand the chest, and then fold forwards on your exhale. Hang heavy down there. Let the arms drop. Let the knees bend if they want to. Take a big inhale, then exhale, roll yourself back up, bone by bone. Take your time with that. Standing tall again, spread the arms, reach through the fingertips, and then fold forwards. Big inhale, exhale, roll up. And we're going to do that once more. It's important to get the spine nice and mobilized, because if your back is tight, then that's going to limit the flexibility through the legs as well. Now, standing up tall, let's spread one arm up and open to the sky, side bend over. Exhale, come up tall again. Inhale over the other way. Exhale back up. We'll do that once more per side. And then combining the two, let's go up and over to the first side, fold down that side of your leg, swing over to the other side, then come on up with that other arm above. Then go back down the side you just went up, swing yourself over, other arm above the head. So basically you always have one arm over your head, protecting your head from rocks falling out of the sky, just in case, you never know. Once you get the hang of it, start to make that more fluid, maybe a little bit bouncy, just swaying back and forth, and we'll go for a little bit longer. Let's go for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, and last one. All right, and then let's step to the end of the mat. A big arm circle around here, then fold down. Inhale at the bottom. And then walk your hands out into a downward dog. Stick your hips to the sky. Stick your hips to the sky, and then pedal out the ankles. Really reaching out long, pushing down through the hands. Elongating through the spine. Taking some deep breaths. Let's go 5 more seconds side to side, stretching through those calves as you let one heel sink down at a time. 3, 2, 1. Get sturdy in that down dog. And then let's raise the right leg straight up to the sky. As high as you can, take an inhale. And then exhale, step it through so that your foot goes down between the hands. Come on up. And then you're just sinking forwards into your hip flexor stretch. Squeezing that back glute, press the hips forwards. And here's where yoga blocks can be really helpful. You could always have blocks next to you to hold on to. That will make it a little bit more stable. And if you feel stable enough, you could lift the same left arm up and over, take a side bend. That might enhance the hip flexor stretch, as well as adding in a little side body. Think about reaching forwards through that front knee. We'll just hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then lengthen that front leg. Hinge forwards. Again, blocks are super helpful here because we want to keep the back straight as best as possible. It's not about how much you fold, because if we're folding right over, it's going to be about the back mobility, but instead we want this to be hamstring focused. So we're going to lengthen the spine, reach your chest to the toe instead of chest to the knee, okay? And then when you're holding that, you might as well floss the nerves through the back of the leg by pointing and flexing that ankle. Now, it's going to feel like a deeper stretch as you pull the toes back to the shin, but in reality, that's just your nerves yelling at you. It's actually not stretching the hamstring any deeper, but it's good to train the nerves to settle down into their stretches. That's one of the biggest things we're doing with stretch work here, is just training the neurological system to get used to the stretch. It's not so much creating physical changes with the muscle unless you hold these stretches for a long time. So when you're doing this series on your own, I would suggest holding your stretches for like 1.5 minutes in each pose, each side, if you can. A little is better than nothing, so do it regardless, and you'll still train the neurological system to get used to the stretch, which in turn will help your mobility. But if you're really serious about wanting to be flexible, you're gonna wanna hold that for like 1.5 minutes, which it feels like we've been doing that about here. So let's move on. We're gonna now lunge forwards, back into hip flexor, but I want you to reach back behind you to grab the opposite foot in your hand, twisting around. Now, if this doesn't work, just hold that regular hip flexor stretch again. Squeeze the left bum cheek, open your chest, take a breath. And then I like to lengthen back to my hamstring stretch before I then flow forwards into a pigeon, shuffling my foot to the other side of the mat. Now, you'll often see people doing pigeon with their foot close to their pelvis, and then it's pretty easy to get down like that. I want you to be sure that you feel the stretch in that outer glute though. So what I like to do to make it more glute focused is take my foot away from me. So I've got my base of the big toe next to my wrist, against my wrist, and then my other knee, the same knee, is up against my other wrist. So basically you want your shin pretty much parallel, perpendicular to your body. And then when I do that, I'm usually pretty tight, so I'm usually propped up onto my hands a bit more, trying to square off my hips. Some deep breaths there. One more breath. And then let's just roll to the side of that hip onto both bum cheeks, seated tall. You're gonna keep that same left leg long. Right foot goes up against the inner thigh. We'll lift the right arm, side bend over. Big breath. And then maybe a little rotation as well. Stretching the hamstrings a bit more as well as your back. Big breath. Come out of that. And then we'll switch sides. I like to start from the top. So back to the down dog. Take a nice deep breath. Raise that left leg. Nice and high, pushing the floor away from you. Squeeze that left glute and then flow forwards into that single thigh stretch. Squeezing the right bum cheek, reach forwards out of the left knee. Send energy forwards out of the knee and notice how that takes you deeper into your stretch. And then maybe you lift the right arm, side bending over. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lengthen. Reach forwards. Keep your back straight as you find that hamstring stretch. And maybe you point and flex. We won't hold here too long. You're welcome to pause the video and set up a timer for yourself to hold the stretches, or maybe you just write down the stretches to do it again later for longer. Right now, let's just hold for another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then reach yourself forwards, taking your pigeon stretch. If this isn't feeling good, you have a couple of options. You could prop your knee or even hip up with like a little ball or a block. You could put the block underneath the bum cheek. That will make it more accessible to you. But you could also do a figure 4 stretch where maybe you're seated with one ankle crossed over the other knee, or lying down on your back. You could even hug the legs in if you're on your back, or in a chair and then tipping yourself forwards, okay? So lots of options with that so that you still stretch the glute. Whatever you gotta do to feel the stretch in the area you're supposed to. big breath. Now, after that pigeon stretch, we almost forgot the hip flexor stretch with the added quads. So back into your lunge. Let's reach with the opposite hand to that back foot. So I've got my left hand holding the right ankle. If you have a block here, you can put it underneath the right hand. You'll be up a little taller. Definitely hard to balance if you don't have a block. Take a breath. And then heading into that stretch where we're seated, right leg long, left foot to the inner thigh. We lift the left arm and side bend, and then rotate. Take a big breath. And then let's find a butterfly stretch. Soles of the feet together, hinge forwards. Take a breath. Okay. And then we're all done. I hope you feel stretched out. Be sure to save this video for later. That way you can come back to it and practice this stretch routine again. And then also just make it feel fluid to you whenever you're doing this on your own. Just flow from one to the next, wherever you gotta be to feel the stretch. It's not gonna be right or wrong, so just don't overthink it. I hope that feels good. This is where you could then practice your splits. Again, you want to hold your stretches for about 1.5 minutes to see real change. So if you're serious about it, get out your timer, play some music to get you through it, and you're going to feel and see significant improvements. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.